Hey creative friends, it's Gwen. I'm back in the studio today for another scrapbook layout tutorial. Today's page is featuring Pink Fresh Studios Happy Heart collection and the brand new exclusive Cut of the Month design from Cut to You. You can get more details on that in the description box below. Here's a look at the layout I'll be making, and of course we have to start by backing the cut file. I've gone ahead off camera and backed all the flowers and leaves of the design, but I did want to show you how I went about doing the vase part. If I'm ever working with a design that has a delicate section, I will always do that part last. See how the vase part here is a little bit flimsy? It's just because it's so open. There's not that line structure to help keep its shape. So what I do is back all the bits that do have structure. So in this case, all the flowers and leaves. And then that backed section kind of gives the whole cut file more structure. It also gives you something to hang on to as you're backing the more open sections. It also gives you a little bit of grace. You have a bit of wiggle room. The pattern paper at the top of the vase is not trimmed nearly as nicely as the rest of the vase, and that's because it's hidden behind the flowers. With that done, I can get started on my bigger plan. I do have an idea for this layout and you can kind of see it here. I actually really love making pages like this. I'm going to turn my layout into a bit of a scene. It's going to be the inside of a house, so I have actually chosen a pattern paper for my background that looks a little bit like wallpaper. I'm then going to place my vase of flowers onto a shelf, and the shelf is this pink strip of pattern paper. This collection has a die cut pack that is full of titles. I know I want to use one of those, so I need to make that decision very early on in the design process because the shape of the title is going to dictate some of the design. As I went through the pack, many of the designs were excluded because of their color. For this page, I am going very soft, delicate colors. Others were excluded because of the way that the title was laid out. So there were some that were more stacked in design, and I want something that's going to run more landscape. I have my shelf running along the bottom edge of the page here, and I want the title to be consistent with that. I want the eye to be drawn left to right across the page. So I have gone with the word adorable. You can see that it's the perfect color and it is that horizontal style that I was looking for. And isn't my teenage daughter adorable? This was actually the day she was born. So you can see here that I'm really working from the largest elements that I want to use down to the smallest elements. I've got my background sorted, my cut file, which is taking up quite a lot of space. I know my title is now sorted. I know what I'm working with size-wise for that. I've got my photo backed and in position. I can now start almost phase 2 of the layout, and that is the embellishing. For the embellishments, I will always look for the largest pieces that I want to use first. I'm already also thinking about the flow of the page, and if I'm going to use a visual triangle, I'm thinking about where those triangle points might be. This layout does not end up with a visual triangle, but I mention it because this is the point where I would start to think about that. So if you're thinking about your visual triangle much further on in your process, you could be leaving it a little bit late. At this point, I have decided I want the flowers slightly to the left. I want my photo to be tucked in under the flowers and on the left-hand side there. And then my title is going to be on the right. I've mentioned this before, the eye naturally travels left to right, and that's because that's how we read. So for this layout, I'm just going to go with that flow. I don't need a visual triangle here because I am letting the eye do what it naturally wants to do anyway. I'm not trying to lead the eye around the page. I'm just letting it do what it's going to do by itself. Initially, I did audition a couple of florals in that bottom section there, but it ended up just getting a little bit unclear. There was the flowers that were layered underneath the vase, there was the floral print in the vase, and then the flowers on top. And for me, there was no definition there. So I decided against that, and I'm going to keep this bottom section nice and clean and clear. I did find this very cute sticker that says Happy Little Moments, and I am going to run that down the left-hand edge of my photo. photo, I do also end up filling out a little bit of the bouquet at the top with some of the die cut leaves from the collection. You can also see here that I'm starting to fill out the wall that's behind my vase. That little circle element there, that's supposed to be a tapestry, but I have changed it. It is now a cute little picture frame for my wall. I did also find this super cute little picture frame, which I was not expecting, and I'm going to nestle that in behind the flowers there. Now that I have a little more space on the right there, I am going to add in a second embroidery hoop, and I really like how that's sort of a little cluster now. Could you do me a favor? If you're enjoying this video so far and love hearing about my scrapbook process, I would love it if you would subscribe. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm and it will help you to see more videos just like this. So I'm up to part 2, I guess, of the embellishing process. I'm working on things that are medium to sort of smaller sized. A lot of this process is just trial and error, and I'm here for it. This is my most enjoyable part of the process. I do also enjoy working within constraints. So I like to have a plan, and I feel that the plan often helps me create faster and better. So in this case, I'm really just seeking out items that are going to fit with this little picture that I'm making here. For example, the books that I'm placing right now, as soon as I saw them, I was like, right, I know they fit perfectly into the story that I'm telling. I know that I can find a place for those on my page. For me, the embellishment process is as much about finding the right embellishments as it is about excluding embellishments. I love it when I find something that clearly won't fit. I think there was a bicycle in that die cut pack and I was like, right, I know 100% that I'm not going to put a bicycle on this layout. And excluding things helps me to get clarity on the things that I will use. Things are getting serious because I am gluing stuff down. I like to place everything first, get a real feel for the layout, and then come back and glue. I just don't like to lock in things in case I change my mind. So I'm now at phase 3 of embellishing. Many of the things are locked into position, and I'm looking at those finishing details. These elements that I'm adding now will be much smaller embellishments. They could be things like enamel dots, little typed sentiments. Generally speaking, these things are textural as well. So as I mentioned, enamel dots, they could be like the little wooden pieces, a flare button, things like that. It's also at this point that I like to take a breath and step away from the page. I do create all in one sitting generally these days. It's just I find it easier recording the process when it's all in one sitting. But I do take a breath. I might go to the kitchen and make a cup of tea. I might put a load of washing on because I like to come back and see the layout at this point with fresh eyes. I find this super useful for checking the balance of the page, maybe checking the colors and the color balance that's happening, and also checking the title spelling. If you haven't tried looking at your layout with fresh eyes, I highly recommend it. I have a bunch of close-up images to share with you. I want to show you all of the pretty layered details. If you like the way that I scrapbook or the way that I chat about the way that I scrapbook, I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up. Not sure where to go next? Try this video right here and I'll see you all next time. Bye!